He checked into his room at 2:17 a.m. after a stand-up performance.
It's suspicious.
This wasn't a minor injury.
Tested positive for COVID.
There's actually bruising on the brain.
The blow was so severe, he had multiple skull fractures, bleeding on the brain, bruising around the eyes.
Blunt head trauma.
And an abrasion on the back of the head measuring 1 by 1.3 inches.
There was not a single drop of blood.
We need to talk about Bob Saget's death because something mysterious is going on here. His family is literally suing to keep the autopsy report private after the public found out that Bob passed away due to a head injury. That night, he was performing his comedy show and he went back to his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton. At some point, he sustained a bunch of different head injuries that ultimately resulted in his death. But there's something bizarre going on here, so let's get into it. So let's go ahead and talk about Bob, because he unfortunately passed away on January 9th, and he was found in his hotel room in Orlando, Florida. At this point in Bob's life, he just kicked off his comedy tour, and he was super excited about it. He seemed like he was in good health, which makes it even weirder that he died that night. Authorities have determined that Bob passed away from head trauma. They have concluded that he accidentally hit the back of his head on something, thought nothing of it, and then went to sleep. So when the police were investigating, they went back and tracked all of Bob's steps to see what could have happened to him. And here's a clip of a cop walking through what happened that night.
We were able to, track his movements from his previous show to the hotel. He actually took a photo with someone that night before he died, right outside the hotel. Went up to his room, locked himself in there. The hotel actually had to remove some of the locks manually to get into the hotel room. The room was clean, no signs of a struggle, and so we believe the death was accidental.
So they believe the death is accidental, and that seems to be their official response. But it still doesn't add up to me that he had this comedy show, went back to the Ritz-Carlton in his room, and just an accident happened. And Bob actually tweeted out late that night, early in the morning, and that actually gave investigators another tip that at least at 3 a.m. he was doing all right.
65-year-old Saget was found dead in room 962 at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Orlando last month. His hotel key card showed he checked into his room at 2:17 a.m. after a stand-up performance.
So Bob seemed to be in good spirits, and his family have been very clear that there was no evidence of drugs or foul play. But something I found interesting was that Bob actually had COVID when he passed away, which is interesting because I believe he got the booster, and a lot of people thought that maybe the booster did that to him, but shoot, I guess the booster didn't protect him because he already freaking had COVID.
Per the report from the medical examiner in Orange County, Florida, the official cause of death was blunt head trauma. It was also revealed that Saget had COVID.
So now let's talk a little bit about this latest lawsuit, because now his family is trying to hide exactly what happened to Bob. So they are suing police to stop the release of records from his death. So they filed the lawsuit in Orange County, Florida, which you guys know I'm in Florida, so it's so weird that I'm like kind of close to this. But the lawsuit was filed by his wife Kelly and his 3 daughters because they don't want these medical records to be released. I don't really understand why they would want to stop these records from coming out. Like, unless they're just trying to stop like reliving this trauma, what would they be hiding from the medical records? Like, there's a lot of people who love Bob Saget, and you guys know we made a video about his questionable past, but people are interested and they are worried, and I don't know why hiding these medical records would do anyone any good. But the lawsuit argues that releasing these medical records would cause the family to suffer irreparable harm in the form of extreme mental pain, anguish, and emotional distress. So I don't know what the hell is in these medical records, but how would it cause all these issues? If there was an injury, there's no drugs, no foul play, like what could have, what could be causing this harm for this family. But let's talk a little bit about these records, because some officers and doctors have looked at these records and we learn how drastic this head injury really was.
But the one thing about the autopsy is that the force of the fall appears to have been much greater than I think people had assumed here. I'm not saying it's suspicious, but to have the injuries on the back of the head, but also above the eyes too. Any sense of how that might have happened?
Well, there's no doubt that it was a hard impact, possibly from a fall. You know, the bathroom there is a very slick, hard surface, so there's speculation he may have slipped in the bathroom.
So that news reporter said that Bob had injuries on the back of his head and the front of his head. What? Like, was he falling down a stairway and he hit both his heads? Like, that didn't happen. So what could he have done in his hotel room that would have hurt the back of his head, but also the front of his head? Because I was thinking maybe like he slipped in the bathroom, he fell back, he hit his head, but then you wouldn't hit the front of your head. And this is when it gets weird, guys, because I'm going around and I'm looking at different articles, and we got some articles like this one that say that Bob accidentally hit the back of his head on something and went to sleep. But then we've got people saying that he hit the front of his head. We've got people saying it looks like a car accident. So what could have happened to his head in that hotel room that would have ultimately killed him?
But the thing to remember that it wasn't a mild injury that led to this. I see patients on every shift who come in after hitting their head, and it might be skiing or slipping in the ice or after a car accident. Most people do just fine. But looking at Mr. Saget's autopsy, this wasn't a minor injury. He had a number of skull fractures to the back of his head and the front of his head. He had bleeding around his brain. This was a significant fall, and that kind of mechanism can definitely lead to really severe injuries.
So it turns out Bob had fractures to the back of his head and around his eyes, according to the autopsy report. And again, he also had COVID-19, but around the eyes, like, that is extremely painful, to the point where, like, if you had fractures in the back of your head and around your freaking eyes, at that point, I don't think you would feel comfortable just going back to sleep and, you know, you'll be all right.
The just released autopsy report says the blow was so severe he had multiple skull fractures, bleeding on the brain, bruising around the eyes, and an abrasion on the back of the head measuring 1 by 1.3 inches. The report says Saget was 6 feet 5 inches and weighed 228 pounds, and it found that at the time of death he tested positive for COVID. We showed the findings to forensic pathologist Dr. Priya Banerjee.
There's actually bruising on the brain because it looks like he hit the back of his head and then the brain rattles inside the skull and causes a lot of damage.
So obviously Bob went through something extremely intense, and I can't even begin to think of like what happened to him that resulted in this kind of injury. But it seems like the family is content with this response and they want to move on from Bob's passing, which I can understand, but I also question like what happened to him. Even police don't even really know what happened, and they believe that he fell in the bathroom, but there were no signs of blood or struggle or anything in the hotel room to suggest what happened to Bob.
Was there any evidence about where he may have fallen inside that hotel room, if it even did take place in the hotel room?
No, there's no evidence. Like, there was not a single drop of blood in the hotel room. So, you know, again, that's why we believe, you know, he struck his head on a flat surface, and, you know, most likely the bathroom, but, you know, we're not sure about that.
So that officer is saying that they believe that he fell in the bathroom, but Inside Edition actually went into the hotel room that he passed away in, and they looked around, and there's a few other options. He could have hit his head on the side table in the bathroom, but again, there was no sign of him actually getting hurt, so we don't know.
An Inside Edition producer checked into the hotel today to investigate what could have happened to Saget.
There was a report that he could have hit his head on the headboard, but as you can see, this headboard is very soft. However, next to the bed is a nightstand with a marble top. Hitting his head here would have caused a lot of damage. The bathroom is very small with a lot of hard surfaces. He could have banged his head anywhere in here or slipped on the floor.
This all seems so mysterious to me because some articles are reporting that he hit his head on the headboard, but the headboard was cushioned. If Bob got as hurt as we've heard that they say he was, then I think we would see a sign of this. But nonetheless, Bob is at peace now. He had a funeral service with a bunch of celebrity friends who showed up and showed support for him. And according to police, it looks like this investigation is closed. And that's in part because the family just kind of wants to keep everything low key, which I get, but I still question what's in those medical records or the autopsy that they're really trying to hide, because I can't clearly put together how he passed away. Police can't. How can the family do that or ever even get closure if they don't know what really happened to him?
We believe this was an accidental cause of death. Maybe hitting a flat surface with the back of his head. So the investigation is really closed at this point based on the information that kind of confirmed what we believed from the medical examiner's office.
The investigation is closed.
Yeah, unless any new information comes up, that would lead us otherwise.
But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this whole situation's mysterious? Do you think it's just time to move on? I think it's interesting that they're suing to keep everything private. It just seems so odd to me. But here's my email. Let's go ahead and open this P.O. Box package item. I'm opening all the big ones right now just because I am moving on Saturday and I cannot have all these boxes in my car. But it looks like this one is from Dominique and Callie, which I'm supposed to move there in May, guys. I've been saying that, but also part of me just wants to stay in Florida. Also, I don't know. Oh my god, I'm twitching because I'm about to tell you guys something, but I probably shouldn't tell you it. Anyways, let's go ahead and see what this could be. We've got a card right here for Exhilarate, their company, which I will list everything below. All official and everything. Let's see if there's a card. Is there a note? Dear Sloan, I stumbled across your channel almost a year after recovering from COVID and having a difficult time in my life. I absolutely love watching your videos every day. You're a strong and inspiring person who's still willing to use their voice to share important topics with us through your videos. Aw. Keep doing what you're doing and keep your head up. I've sent you some of my shop's popular cups, a cup that's made for you. I know how much you love Britney, so I hope you love it. Aw. And 2 self-defense keychains, which, oh my gosh, look at these. These are the keychains right here. So if I'm out in Miami next week and I'm trying to fight, which if anyone lives in Miami, you want to hang out, let me know. I have no friends there. So much is happening in my life, by the way. It's crazy. I'm having surgery soon. 2 surgeries soon. I met this guy. Oh my god, look at this cup. Okay, so they sent me some cups from their shop, which you guys can go and shop below. Go and support a fellow subscriber. But look at this Britney cup. Oh my god, I love it. This is perfect for going to the beach and stuff. Let's get into it. Oh, and I love the colors. Sloan's hot tea with Britney. Oh my gosh, and she hooked it up with a straw and a cup. This is just so cool. I love this so much. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, with the straw though, it's just complete. It's perfect. I love it. Oh my god, look how cute this one is. What? We got Stitch on it. And we got my name, Sloan. This one's so pretty. I love the purple color too. I wonder if this is for more warmer drinks or maybe just keeping it extra cold, but this is so sick. Oh, I'm about to go fill it up and drink some juice out of it today. Thank you so much. Go and check out their shop below. I love this, and I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.